Saltwater angling may just be the most exciting way to fish. Join us as we enter the Golden Isles Kingfish Classic. We'll introduce two young people to the special tradition that goes along with catching your first bull red, and we'll dispel some myths about sharks. Coming up next. We're here at the Golden Isles Kingfish Classic on St. Simon's Island, Georgia, sponsored by the Southern Kingfish Association. Today, we're fishing for king mackerel.
The Golden Isles Kingfish Classic is a two-day event, and fishing begins with checkout, and that way we know who left for, and we can better keep up with what might go on during the day with the tournament participants. The checkout is at 6 o'clock or 6:30, depending on the size of the boat. And then there's no limitation on where people go. So they can fish as far away from the weigh-in site as they choose to, whatever their boats will let them do.
We're fishing with Team Triton. J.T. Thomas and his son Dave Thomas have allowed us to be here as they try to catch the winning kingfish. The first order of business for these anglers is to catch enough bait fish to last all day. Cast netting is the most efficient way to get a lot of fish quickly.
One of the primary baits is menhaden, otherwise referred to as pogies, and an excellent bait for live baiting for kingfish. It has a lot of scent. We'll go through and cull these out and take the big ones and use them for bait. Small ones will make chum with them.
Chumming attracts sport fish by releasing the scent of bait fish into the water around the boat. In addition to the pogies, ribbon fish, which are related to eels, are also used as bait.
It's a very shiny, silverish colored bait, and typically they work the best offshore when you fish them deep on a downrigger.
For the Thomases, fishing has always been a family affair. Dave Thomas tells us how he and his dad got started fishing together.
We started out in a little 16, 18-foot boat, live baiting offshore at home. When I say offshore, 10, 12 miles, catching 8, 10, 12-pound fish. It was a family affair. I mean, literally mom, dad, myself, my sister. It's very hard to keep that many people together for a long time and travel all over the Southeast. So we scaled way back. We fished 2, 3, 4, 5 tournaments a year together, and then the local tournaments at home.
It's all right. He's a big fish. Just keep reeling. How the line's in.
The Southern Kingfish Association, founded in 1991, has grown into the premier saltwater fishing organization in the country and produces America's largest offshore tournament trail, the Mercury Tournament Trail.
Okay, you're good. I hope it's not a cuda.
Barracuda are common in waters over natural and artificial reefs. Though they look menacing, barracuda have no interest in attacking humans.
It's a cuda. It's a nice cuda, though. Wouldn't mind having just my jig head back. If I can just get a hold of that. If I can get
they can be dangerous, though, if your hand gets too close to a hooked and frightened cuda. Dave will break the line and let the fish swim away. The bronze hook will rust away.
No, I don't think so. You pick this up off the bottom.
I can see him. I can see silver and long, but I don't know the brand yet. It's king. I just saw a forked tail. You're going to get him right off the bow. You got him.
He's 20.
Is he? Yeah. Good deal. Broke the ice anyway.
Now that the kingfish has been gaffed and landed, Special attention is required in order to maintain its body weight.
You put this in so you don't lose any fluid from where you're casting.
Ice will freeze the fish quickly and preserve freshness and weight.
The nice thing is you get one in the bag and then the pressure's kind of off of you, and then you try to improve on it. I think the fun thing about kingfishing is the extreme power and speed. Well, you feel a little better, I guess, because after missing 3 straight, you start to doubt yourself. For whatever it's worth, we've had 5 bites, and every one of them have been within 50 yards of the same place. Very powerful, very fast, and a very difficult fish to catch until you learn the techniques of how to do it. When you find fish, it's always good. Normally, you would have a machine, your GPS, and you always want to go back and work that number. You'll mark that spot with your machine, and you'll go back there and back there and back there, because kingfish run in schools. So there's more than one there. So when you catch a fish like we did this one, and before him even, we had 4 other bites, and all 4 of them were within that same vicinity. Luckily, what we did, since our GPS is out of order, there's a boat anchored up there. So we have something to go by to know where we were to catch the fish. So we keep going back there, and it works.
Okay.
Many of the teams are fishing around offshore artificial reefs. Sport fishermen and artificial reefs have a special working relationship.
If you look at recreational fishing participation in the state of Georgia, the growth is in saltwater recreational fishing.
The main purpose of Georgia's reef program has been to provide more accessible fishing opportunities for fishermen.
One of the things that makes Georgia's artificial reef program successful is the involvement of the fishing public, from contribution of cash for the purchase of surplus vessels and other types of reef material, all the way to lobbying, to make sure that money is returned back to the Coastal Resource Division to be used for reef enhancement and for reef development. We've got fishing clubs and fishing tournaments that devote a certain percentage of their proceeds annually to artificial reef activities.
Fishermen are paying the bill through the license revenues and through sport fish restorations.
The Kingfish Classic helped pay for the Mac Tide, a 120-foot-long tugboat placed at Artificial Reef G. Monies from other sport fishing clubs also assist with the purchase of vessels like this one. The artificial reefs also provide dining opportunities and attract marine animals like sea turtles and corals.
Bob, we got a big fish. Big fish, yeah. And I mean big. I hope it's the right species. He's way down. Not yet.
You got plenty of slack. I'm going to bring him up.
Go.
Yeah, we got a money fish here.
That's better.
Just in time, our team lands a fish large enough to be in competition for a prize.
30.
Much better.
After taking care of the fish, we have just enough time to make it back to the check-in point with a few minutes to spare.
They all have to be back to the check-in point by 5 o'clock at the end of the day. So the tournament fisherman's biggest enemy is his wristwatch, because time is the thing that, regardless of how fast your boat is or how big your boat is, you still got a certain amount of time.
The weigh-in is a busy place. Each team drives by the check-in boat and gets in line for weigh-in. will take today's largest fish up to be weighed and counted.
Once they bring the fish in, it goes to the scales. They're allowed to weigh one fish for the boat. They're allowed to weigh an extra fish for a junior angler and an extra fish for a lady angler. And then the fish is weighed to the nearest hundredth of a pound.
32.34.
Team Triton's Kingfish is big enough for 14th place in the tourney. Not bad for 223 fish weighed in. But the overall winner is Team Big Bite, weighing in with a 41.76 pounder.
In the Golden Isles Kingfish Classic, first prize and from third prize down to the end of the payout is based on the single biggest fish, and our second place payout is based on combined weight of two fish for the 2 days of fishing. We postponed the tournament to later in the summer because of bad weather, and that was a controversial decision, but the sea conditions were such that it would have been unsafe for people to be out fishing. We now have decided that the fishing was so good in August, and everybody had a chance to get a break from some of the other tournaments, so we're going to move the tournament to August next year and keep it there permanently.
To enjoy all the great fisheries in Georgia, you first have to have a fishing license. Though affordable, fishing and hunting licenses pay for the many and diverse conservation efforts of Georgia's Department of Natural Resources, like management of fish and game populations, hatcheries, maintenance and building of public fishing areas, and aquatic and hunter education. You can buy a fishing or hunting license from the over 1,000 license dealers across the state, including major discount retailers, marinas, sporting goods stores, and convenience stores. You also have the option of purchase by phone or online. Call this number or visit these websites to obtain your fishing or hunting license and to find out more about fishing and hunting opportunities in Georgia. You can also learn about the Sportsman's License, the Lifetime License, and free fishing days.
We're going along as two young people have a fishing adventure with whiting and redfish. This will be an exciting day for David Ansley and Sally Woodward. Their dads are already very familiar with these species of fish. Spud Woodward and Henry Ansley are both stewards of marine fisheries through their jobs with Georgia's Department of Natural Resources Coastal Resources Division. Also along is another of Spud's favorite fishing partners, Chris Dummett, an avid angler and sports writer.
If there's a secret to it, it's like you always hear about real estate. It's location, 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 and that's knowing the areas that the fish frequent. We're on a sandbar off of Little St. Simon's Island, an area that we commonly call Middle Bar. The other thing is fresh bait. It's making sure that you've got, even though it is dead bait, making sure that it's fresh dead bait. Those are two very important things, and then of course we're using circle hooks. Circle hooks allows us to fish several rods without having to tend a rod since the hooks set themselves.
The catching starts to happen early this day.
All right now.
What you got?
That was the puggy.
Something big.
Okay.
Well, I caught my very first fish around, I was around 4 years old, I think. Caught a little catfish. I still remember it, and up from then I've caught plenty of different fish. Son of a gun.
Fishing around 8 years with my son, hopefully many more. It's just a great thing to do. I mean, get to be outside, something we both enjoy. He loves it. I do too.
Am I hungry?
Yeah, how much you need any help? We'll be up. It's a redfish. Look at the size of that redfish.
It felt like a huge weight on my line at first, and then he just started to run. That's probably the biggest fish I've ever caught in my life. I've caught redfish before, but they weren't exactly big redfish.
It's male too. Hear him drumming?
These are my first bull redfish today.
It's hard to tell the difference between males and females unless they produce sound. the males produce the sound. The females are silent. The males have special muscles along the sides of their air bladder so they can actually vibrate their air bladder much like a drum head vibrates when you hit it with a drumstick.
But you know what tradition says, don't you? You gotta kiss your first bull red. He don't want to kiss you. You can tell that, can't you? There you go. Come on. Come on. Come on.
Well, I'm not sure when the tradition started.
All right.
I guess it's a symbol of showing your appreciation for the generosity of King Neptune.
Oh, God. He's fine. That's what I'd say.
Children, have a lot of distractions these days. I mean, there's Nintendo games, there's a multitude of TV channels, there's lots of things to distract them from coming out in the natural world.
Another bead.
A bait lesson will help Sally become a self-sufficient angler, but it isn't the most exciting part of the day.
Hook it through like that. Ready to go.
But I assure you that the experience of catching one of these big reds is something that they'll never forget.
All right, darling. You ready?
I was 4 years old when I started fishing. Most of the times when he goes fishing, he takes me.
You go down like that, reel up. When you pull up like that, nope. Okay. Reel down, then hold up, pull, and reel on the down. That's the rhythm. That's the rhythm that we're looking for.
All right. All right. Whoa!
Must be the gentleman, right?
She's been with me whiting fishing and that sort of thing, in the more protected areas. But she's gotten a little older now, so it's time to venture out into the ocean. And
all right, Sal.
Nice and too. That's a nice fish.
Slide right by you, darling.
Okay. Here he comes.
It was hard because you had to keep on pulling back and reeling in, and it was strong, and so it's pulling, but it was fun.
Really?
Well, the redfish here are probably bigger than any redfish I've ever caught in Florida, that's for sure.
He doesn't like you, Spud.
These fish really, really pull hard. And they'll take off on the first run. You feel them shake their head.
What's the total length?
This size of redfish is really not that good to eat. They have a lot of bloodlines in them.
In inches.
Just give him a little kiss right in.
So when you get a slot-sized redfish, yes, they're wonderful to eat. As a matter of fact, we almost devastated the Gulf stock of redfish because the blackened redfish craze started in New Orleans. We've rebuilt the stocks greatly since then, but we're still under fairly heavy restrictions and trying to make sure that fish come back.
Get this other one gone healthy. I get the slot.
While Sal rests from her big catch and tries to get rid of a little motion sickness, Henry tries to pick up a few tips from his son.
All right, Dave, give me some tips here.
The big bull reds that we're catching today, and it's funny that bull red is really sort of a misnomer because we caught both males and females today. These fish are the spawning part of the population. And the fish we caught today could range in age anywhere from 7 years to maybe as old as being in their 40s. They're the future of the population. And so we afford them protection through law. As a matter of fact, in Georgia, you cannot keep a redfish larger than 23 inches. The premise of that slot limit we have, the 14 to 23 inch slot limit, is allowing people to keep the desirable fish for the table, the smaller immature fish, but still allowing enough of them to get into the adult population and then protecting the ones that do get into the adult population from fishing. And the tagging process is just part of our effort to continue to expand our understanding of how these fish move. It helps us manage those fish better as we understand their behavior patterns.
Do you think we ought to make the old man kiss it just for the matter of record? Okay.
Don't show my wife that.
Did he get you?
He got me.
Well, children obviously are the future for the sport.
You got to know somebody who's going to eat supper and go to sleep tonight.
And this is one of the great, exciting things that you can do as a child is go out and pull on a really big fish.
Fish will too.
Yeah.
Anytime that the fish is stressing itself, fighting against the line, it produces a physiological side effect. And what we want to do is bring that fish in, process the fish. You can hold them out of the water for a minute or two.
He's going, hey, you kissed my friend, what about me?
And then when you put the fish back in the water, you want to make sure that it's recovered from the stress so that it can, get its balance back and it can swim off and then start moving water back over its gills.
Get his wits back around him. There he goes. All right.
A 30-pound redfish may not be the best place for a first-time angler to start.
Get about 10 more of them. How about that?
All right.
Whiting, a smaller member of the drum family, are a good catch for beginning anglers.
White.
Well, fishing for whiting is probably the way that more coastal residents have started their saltwater fishing career than probably anything, because it is a type of fishing that you can get in protected waters. You're bottom fishing. It doesn't take a real sophisticated type of terminal tackle. You're using dead shrimp for bait. So that's a great way to bring children out, because one of the things that's very important about taking children fishing is producing some sort of catch, because they get bored pretty easily, and you want those initial fishing experiences to be positive experiences, and for them to get some reinforcement of the preparation and the planning and all that goes into a successful fishing trip.
Yep, he is just over 10 inches.
You keep it.
Right there. Yep, he's a keeper.
That's my whiting. My world record one.
He's your world record.
Yeah, right now Sal's sort of out of the fishing game. She's more in the relaxing game right now. One of the things that's advisable if you've got kids that you suspect might be a little prone to motion sickness, it doesn't hurt to go ahead and just give them some sort of motion sickness medicine before you take them out in the ocean. Again, you don't want those first experiences to be bad ones, because they may go ahead and decide that fishing is not for them, even though they didn't really give it a fair chance after being sick the first time they went out.
Gosh, Dave, that put up a lot of fight for whiting.
Yeah, really.
The other species that we commonly catch when we're fishing for these bull reds and when you're fishing for whiting is bonnethead sharks. Bonnetheads are one of the more common shark species found in coastal Georgia. They don't grow very large. A 4-foot long bonnethead is a really large bonnethead. But even the fact that they're 4 feet long means that they can also injure you if you handle them carelessly. You've got to be real careful. What I advise to people who aren't experienced in handling sharks is just cut the leader and let the shark go. These hooks are basically, most of them are bronze, and they'll corrode fairly quickly in the salty water. The hooks are cheap. Dollar bills are a whole lot more expensive than fish hooks.
Red's the most common.
Want to kiss him?
The idea of catching a shark might be a little frightening. We asked shark biologist Carolyn Belcher to debunk some of the myths about sharks.
The shark attack data file out of University of Florida has said chances of you being killed by a falling coconut is actually greater than being attacked by a shark. Like, if you're in the water, odds are they're going to come looking for you. That is not true at all. You tend to be more stationary in the water than a lot of other objects that they're really focused on. Handling is basically the big thing with fishermen handling the sharks. We generally don't bring anything over 3.5 foot on the boat.
The low threat of shark attack doesn't mean that there are no precautions swimmers should take.
If you were to pick a time of day to swim in the water, you want to avoid basically the time of day where you're at low light. Don't put yourself in areas where there's like a channel that runs through. Don't put yourself into a slough, because they'll tend to be in a slough area.
Though they may be frightening to us, sharks have an important place in the natural order.
The importance of sharks is more from an ecological value than anything else. There's lots and lots of bait fishes because they're feeding the next tier up. So it goes on up the line. If you remove your top of the chain or remove the sharks, you end up with problems at your middle levels where you wouldn't have a species that was normally dominant. Now all of a sudden it would take off and could be causing a problem within the ecological system.
A relative of the shark that is sometimes caught by accident is the stingray. Stingrays are beautiful and graceful swimmers and are bottom feeders, with mouths conveniently located on their bellies. When caught, a stingray's flattened body allows it to bury itself in the sand, making it very difficult to pull up from the bottom.
Species number 4.
For those who haven't discovered this firsthand, sport fishing requires patience, muscle, and stamina. It can take a long time to reel in large fish. In this case, the culprit is a large stingray. Dad may have to help a little with this one.
It hasn't come to the surface, and it's stingraying. Yeah.
Here, Dave. How's the time? Do or die.
This is going to be something I'm going to do for a really long time. I mean, it's so fun. I just like getting out on boats, like to see how people run them, and different ways to fish, and especially pulling in the fish.
That was a nice one, though.
Very large ray.
Very large ray, David. Boy, I'm exhausted.
David has had a big day. When he rests up, he'll be ready to fight more fish.
I'm pooped. I'm pooped.
On his next fishing adventure.